What if the most expensive gamble in Blue Jays history isn't about whether Bo Bichette can hit, but whether he can learn to play a completely different position while carrying a $250 million price tag on his back? The Toronto Blue Jays stand at a crossroads that will define the next decade of this franchise. Bo Bichette, the two-time All-Star shortstop who has been the heartbeat of this lineup since his electric debut in 2019, is now a free agent. And according to ESPN insider David Schoenfield, if he returns to Toronto, it won't be at the position that made him famous. The Blue Jays are planning to move Bichette to second base, permanently handing the shortstop reins to newly acquired Andres Gimenez. This isn't just a positional tweak. This is a seismic shift in identity, strategy, and risk management. And it raises a question that should haunt every Blue Jays fan tonight. Is this brilliance or desperation? Let's be brutally honest about what's happening here. Bo Bichette is one of the most electrifying offensive talents in baseball. His bat speed is legendary. His ability to spray line drives to all fields, his knack for clutch hits, and his raw charisma have made him a fan favorite and a cornerstone of Toronto's rebuild. But defense? That's where the fairy tale ends and the harsh reality begins. Bichette has been, by nearly every advanced metric, a below-average defender at shortstop. His range is limited. His arm, while strong, is inconsistent. His positioning and decision-making have cost the Blue Jays runs games, and perhaps even playoff berths. In a league where defensive value is increasingly quantified and prized, Bichette's glove has become a liability that no amount of offensive production can fully offset. And here's the brutal truth that front offices whisper, but rarely say out loud. If Bo Bichette were even a halfway decent defender, he'd be commanding a contract north of $250 million right now. His offensive profile at shortstop is that rare. But he isn't halfway decent. He's a defensive question mark, and that question mark is costing him tens of millions of dollars on the open market. Teams are factoring in the defensive metrics. They're seeing the errors, the missed double plays, the balls that should have been outs but weren't, and they're adjusting their offers accordingly. So, the Blue Jays, if they want to bring Bichette back without breaking the bank or mortgaging their defensive future, have to get creative. And creative, in this case, means moving him to second base. Now, let me ask you something, and I want you to really think about this before you answer in the comments. Do you trust Bo Bichette to make this transition smoothly, or are we about to watch a disaster unfold in real time? Second base is not shortstop. The angles are different. The throws are different. The responsibilities are different. Shortstop is the glamour position, the captain of the infield, the player who dictates the rhythm of the defense. Second base is more reactive, more about quick hands and turning double plays, less about range and arm strength. For a player who has spent his entire professional career at shortstop, this is not a minor adjustment. This is a complete recalibration of muscle memory, instincts, and mental processing. And Bichette will be doing this under the microscope of a fan base that is starving for success, a media market that is unforgiving, and a contract that could be worth upwards of $200 million. The pressure will be immense. The margin for error will be razor thin. But here's where it gets even more complicated. The Blue Jays didn't just wake up one morning and decide to move Bichette. They made a calculated move earlier in the offseason by acquiring Andres Gimenez, a Gold Glove caliber defender who has been working at shortstop. Gimenez is everything Bichette is not defensively. Smooth, instinctive, reliable. He won't wow you with highlight reel plays every night, but he won't cost you games either. He's the steady hand, the safe choice, the player you trust to make the routine play 99 times out of 100. By sliding Gimenez to short and Bichette to second, the Blue Jays are essentially admitting that defense matters, that they can't afford to bleed runs on routine grounders, and that they're willing to risk upsetting their franchise player to fix a glaring weakness. And let's not pretend this is just about defense. This is about money. This is about leverage. This is about the Blue Jays trying to have their cake and eat it too. They want Bichette's bat in the lineup, but they don't want to pay him like a premium shortstop because he doesn't defend like one. By moving him to second base, they can justify a lower annual value, a shorter term, or more team-friendly options. It's a negotiating tactic disguised as a defensive upgrade. And Bichette, who has reportedly told teams he's willing to play second base, is either being incredibly mature and team-first, or he's reading the market and realizing that his defensive limitations are costing him leverage. Either way, it's a fascinating game of chess, and the stakes couldn't be higher. But here's the part that keeps me up at night. What if this doesn't work? What if Bichette struggles at second base? What if the transition takes longer than expected, and his offensive production dips because he's mentally consumed by learning a new position? What if the chemistry in the infield gets disrupted, and the Blue Jays end up worse defensively than they were before? These are not hypothetical concerns. These are real risks that the front office is gambling on. And if they're wrong, if this experiment blows up in their faces, the consequences will be catastrophic. We're talking about a contract that could cripple the payroll, a fan base that will turn toxic, and a front office that will be on the hot seat. Now, Schoenfield also mentioned something critical in his report. The Blue Jays have other infield options. Addison Barger is expected to play third base after splitting time between third and right field last season. Ernie Clement is slated to play second base full-time. So, if Bichette returns and moves to second, where does Clement go? Does he become a super utility player? Does he get traded? Does he lose playing time and value? And what about Barger? Is he locked in at third, or is there flexibility there? The infield configuration is a puzzle, and every piece affects the others. Moving Bichette to second doesn't just impact Bichette. It impacts Gimenez, Clement, Barger, and potentially even Vladimir Guerrero Jr. at first base. It's a domino effect, and the Blue Jays better be damn sure they've thought through every scenario. And then there's the elephant in the room, Kyle Tucker. Schoenfield asked the question that every Blue Jays fan is asking right now. Do the Blue Jays have the appetite to sign both Tucker and Bichette? Tucker is the prize of this free agent class, a legitimate superstar outfielder who can hit for power, average, and get on base. He's a game changer, a player who can elevate a lineup from good to elite. But he's also going to command a massive contract, potentially in the $300 million range. If the Blue Jays commit that kind of money to Tucker, can they also afford to bring back Bichette, even at a reduced rate? Or do they have to choose? And if they choose Tucker over Bichette, what does that say about their priorities? What does that say about loyalty? What does that say about the future? The financial gymnastics here are staggering. The Blue Jays are trying to build a championship-caliber roster while navigating luxury tax thresholds, long-term commitments, and the uncertainty of player development. They need pitching. They need bullpen help. They need depth. And they need to keep their core intact. Signing both Tucker and Bichette would be a statement, a declaration that Toronto is all in, that they're not rebuilding anymore, that they're ready to compete for a World Series. But it would also be a massive risk, a financial tightrope walk that leaves little room for error. Let me paint you a picture of what success looks like. It's opening day 2026. The Rogers Center is packed. The energy is electric. Andres Gimenez is at shortstop, smooth and confident. Bo Bichette is at second base, turning double plays with precision, his bat still scorching hot. Kyle Tucker is in right field, launching home runs into the upper deck. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is anchoring the lineup. The Blue Jays are winning, dominating, and the city of Toronto is alive with baseball fever. That's the dream. That's the vision. That's what the front office is betting on. But let me also paint you the nightmare. It's mid-June 2026. Bichette is struggling at second base, his errors mounting, his confidence shaken. His batting average has dipped because he's mentally exhausted from learning a new position. The Blue Jays are hovering around 500, and the fan base is in full meltdown mode. The media is tearing apart the front office for the Bichette experiment. Gimenez is solid at short, but the offense isn't clicking. Tucker is performing, but he can't carry the team alone. And the Blue Jays are staring at another lost season, Another year of mediocrity, another year of what if. Which scenario plays out depends on 1,000 variables, most of which are beyond anyone's control. Player health, performance fluctuations, team chemistry, managerial decisions, and plain old luck will all play a role. But the decision to move Bichette to second base if he re-signs is the foundation upon which everything else is built. It's the first domino, and if it falls the wrong way, the entire structure collapses. Here's what I think is really happening behind the scenes. The Blue Jays know that Bichette's market is softer than expected because of his defense. They know that other teams are hesitant to commit big money to a defensively limited shortstop, and they're using that to their advantage. They're offering Bichette a chance to stay home, to play in front of the fans who love him, to be part of something special. But they're also asking him to make a sacrifice, to move positions, to accept a role that might not be what he envisioned for himself. It's a test of character, of maturity, of how badly Bichette wants to win. And if he agrees, if he embraces the move to second base and commits to being the best version of himself at that position, it could be the defining moment of his career. But if he hesitates, if he resents the move, if he lets it affect his performance, it could be the beginning of the end. Professional athletes are wired to compete, to prove doubters wrong, to rise to challenges. But they're also human. They have egos. They have pride. And asking a two-time All-Star shortstop to move to second base is asking him to swallow a lot of pride. Not every player can do that. Not every player wants to. So, where does this leave us? The Blue Jays are at a crossroads. They can bring back Bichette, move him to second base, and hope the gamble pays off. They can let him walk, invest in Tucker, and rebuild the infield around Gimenez and younger players. Or they can try to do both, sign Tucker and Bichette, and go all in on a championship window that might only be open for a few more years. Each path has risks, each path has rewards, and the decision they make in the coming weeks will echo through this franchise for the next decade. If you've been riding this emotional roller coaster with me, if you feel the weight of this decision the way I do, then you're exactly the kind of fan this team needs right now. Don't just watch from the sidelines. Be part of this journey. Join the family. Subscribe. Hit that notification bell. Because every rumor, every signing, every move is going to matter. And we're going to break it all down together with the passion and intensity this moment deserves. Now, here's my final question for you, and I want you to really think about this. If you were Bo Bichette, would you accept the move to second base and re-sign with Toronto? Or would you bet on yourself and test the open market, even if it means leaving the only organization you've ever known?